It is 7:03. We are a few minutes late as we quickly transition from the Killen meeting to the regular school committee meeting, and I'm calling us to order. We have one remote attendee due to a work challenge that he will be coming in and out for. So we're going to do everything via the remote roll call related functionality this evening. So with that said, the roll call to order. Sarah?
Here.
Aaron?
Here.
Carla?
Here.
Chuck? Here. John? Here. And Tom? Here. Okay. So we will walk through the agenda. I'll make a couple of quick points on the agenda, and then we'll jump in. So first things first, after the call and the agenda walk, we're going to vote on a new MOA contract with our cafeteria employees union. We will then move to public comment for anybody in the public who wishes to make a statement. As a reminder, if you do, you need to provide your name, address, and you have 3 minutes to speak. We'll then move to our continuous focus on excellence and celebration of excellence that's happening around the district. And I think many of the participants here are for that, and so we're excited for that. We then have our consent agenda. We will be pulling out the ski trip because that is not happening. So we'll pull that out of the request, one particular one. We have reports. No student is here for that today, even though we have students. They're not our official reporting students. So we'll move with everybody else through that, at which point we'll go to old business and discuss and vote on the FY25 school calendar. Here we'll make a small pivot as we go to new business. We're going to pull our special education program review ahead of our ORC core updates. So we'll do that a little bit out of order. We'll do that appropriately. We have an FY25 kindergarten enrollment update, and then we'll review the charter, the new 2023-2024 Reading Home Rule Charter updates at the end. So a little bit of a busy schedule today, but we can handle it. So with that said, I wanted to start with the cafeteria employees contract. And very similar to some of our other ones, we went through a process with them where we renormalized the pay scales and we level set ourselves to where the market is, essentially. We also introduced longevity with them. As we feel like this in particular is an area where we're losing a lot of staff and we want to make sure we have some way to keep them. So that was important. We also gave an additional New Year's Day as a holiday for them. There's no kids in school, so there's really no point in having a cafeteria union worker and the cafeteria working. So that was related stuff. And we made some small adjustments in other places, including increasing the uniform allowance from 325 to 400 and a few other minor changes. Dr. Milczewski, is there anything else you want to add to that? Nope. One more key thing. The state has required that our elementary schools that serve free and reduced lunch, which is every one of them, next year must also serve free and reduced breakfast or free breakfast. That does include an adjustment to our contract as well, and there will be some work with our cafeteria managers in particular about how we roll that out. So, FYI. With that said, any questions from the committee? No? All right, Aaron, do we have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the 7/1/2024 through 6/30/2027 Reading Cafeteria Employees Contract.
Second.
Seconded by Carla, and we'll do roll call on this as well. We'll start online with Sean.
Yes.
Chuck.
Yes.
Carla.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
And Mr. Town Manager.
Yes.
And Tom, yes. So by a vote of 7-0, we have passed that as well. So the cafeteria union ratified it on the 9th of February, and we have now ratified on the 29th of February. So good job. All right.
Work.
One more down. We have one more left. So I want to just thank, again, Dr. Milczewski and his work and the team there, Catherine Franzetti and her work that she does with that team. You can see it, the pride that comes through with them every day. So I just want to thank them for that. So we're moving on to public comment. Is there anybody here in the public to provide public comment? Okay, seeing none. We will now move on. Matt, thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks, Matt.
We'll now move on to our focus on excellence, and we have the Parker Leaders and Parker World of Difference, and I'll turn to Dr. Milczewski to introduce the
Great.
the team, and here we go.
Sounds good. All right, we're thrilled tonight to have another team from Parker tonight. I think in celebrating something that is so important to us in our district is excellence in character. So you're going to hear from two groups. There's no formal presentation, but the two groups are A World of Difference and Parker Leaders, both organizations and groups and students who I think are paving the way in terms of student leadership and also in advocacy in the community and really setting true role models in our community for what we want all of our students to embody. So I'm eager for them to be able to share out with the community to learn more about their work. So I'll invite up all of our students, and also a huge thank you to Principal Rubino, who's also here, and Ms. Folk, who's also here, who I know have facilitated a lot of this work for the students too. So come on up. It'll be great if you can kind of come around these seats over here so everyone at home can see you as well.
Chuck, bring them closer to you, not further away.
You gotta talk into these.
Yep, talk into the microphone so they can see you.
And even before you kind of speak to, it'd be nice.
You guys can all come around here.
It'd be nice if everyone could introduce themselves and also just say your name, say your grade level as well. That would be a good start, and then we can jump right in.
Okay. Thanks for having us. I'm Nancy Folk from Parker Middle School, from A World of Difference. And unfortunately, some of our other team members couldn't be here today. Mr. Gibbs co-facilitates. He's off helping the girls' basketball team win tonight. We're also missing Calvin, Charlie, Evan, and Max, who had prior commitments. Introduce yourself first, I guess.
Hello, I'm Samantha Poon. I'm in 8th grade.
Hello, I'm Lemon Stick Nichols. I'm in 8th grade.
Hello, I'm Jasmine Flores, and I'm also in 8th grade. Hello, I'm Shaylee Vaccarano, and I'm also in 8th grade.
I'm Declan Grant. I'm in 8th grade.
And I'm Rochelle Rubino, principal of Parker.
We were just going to share with you an activity that we were so fortunate that Audra Williams and high schoolers Allie, Alana, Gianna, and Miles brought to us. They took of their own time to come after school and meet with our group. This is the first time that Mr. Gibbs and myself are leading A World of Difference, so they kind of paved the way for us. So the activity that they did for us, we hope to push into classes very soon. So what they asked us to do, they gave us all, it's called an identity sculpture, and so they gave us all pipe cleaners, and you were supposed to create things that represent your identity. So I'm going to let Samantha go first and tell us what she created.
First, I created a heart to represent my love and gratitude to everyone in my life. And then I made a stick figure to represent all my friends. And third, I made a pencil because I like to write books.
I made a heart to represent my family and my friends. I have a dog collar to represent my dog. And then I also made a figure skate to represent figure skating, my favorite sport.
I made the dish hot pot, it's my favorite food. I made the female symbol since I'm a girl, and I made a tree since I like being outside.
I made a house because wherever my family is, I'm at home. And I made a bracelet, a friendship bracelet, because I love my friends. And I made a meatball because my favorite dish is pasta with meatballs.
And Declan's in A World of Difference as well. He didn't do this activity because he's so busy with the play, but he's coming back to us after he's done performing. So in the activity, you're supposed to go around and share with others. So we're going to shorten it for you. And then what they asked us to do is to take away one piece of our sculpture. And then how does it feel to take away a piece of your identity? How did that feel, Samantha?
I would say it felt strange to remove something that I loved to do.
I felt as though like a part of me was missing.
It felt sad. It just felt different.
Yeah, when you complete the activity, then you talk about how does it feel to try to put that piece back together, right? And how does it feel when you kind of, someone doesn't know the whole you. So we're hoping to take the elongated activity into advisories at the school, kind of adding on to that whole sense of belonging and sharing your identity with others. So thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I think Declan's going to share.
Yeah. So, I'm Declan Grant. I'm representing Parker Service, which we were already here for the kindness kits, but Do you want to listen
Yes,
to the things we do?
yes, some of the things that Parker leaders work on coming up. We have Parker beautification. That's something that our Parker community gets involved in, and we come and we mulch the front of the school, and we help weed and make Parker look beautiful, all ready for our open house night in May. They visit Tannerville around the holiday time and bring joy and sing songs. They help out at different events that we have at the school, like the Welcome to Parker session for incoming 6th grade students during the summer. What else am I forgetting? They run coat drives. Tannerville mentioned that.
Yeah, so Parker Leaders also pays a visitor on the holiday season to the senior center right next door to us, basically, Tannerville. So I guess that's where I'll start. So I've been doing Tannerville as soon as I've been in it, and it's just really awesome to bring, to be young people going into and bringing social connections to a group of people that might not have them, especially around the holidays. It's really just, it's really nice to be able to go and, provide joy, get beaten in chess. Even like our school a cappella group also gets involved, and they come and sing carols. I'm also a part of that, so yeah, that's a really just fun and joyous experience. Everyone gets really into it. I bring like a Santa Claus costume for fun. Yeah. So our Parker Beautification Day, which is coming up, that's something I've also been involved in for a while. Since I was in 2nd grade, I've been helping out with that. And it's really incredible we completely redo the entire front of our school. So it's nice for students to be able to walk in, and as they're walking into the school, see this like beautifully redone, remulched garden with new flowers, and it brings a bit of joy into their day, spring into the step. All of our drives we do are incredible. So we did the kindness kits, which I've talked about previously, but also Coats for Kids is a big drive during the winter that Parker Service, we set it up, we coordinate with them, we collect the coats, bring them back, and all of the drives we do are just, they have great success. This group as a whole, especially with the drives, sets students up with what they need for success, if they're doing other drives or even in life. Gives them tools that they can use in the future. So that's just an amazing thing the group does.
And just to add on, just with the Parker leaders and the Parker Service, they are students who are able to lean on as role models and mentors for other students. So whenever we need somebody to help us out at the school, the Parker leaders and Parker Service students are our go-to group who come and help and lead for others and help other students and pave the way for what we're looking for when we think about our core values of kindness, community, and personal best.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for the World of Difference group too. I don't know if you could share a little bit, just what do you think the goals or the purpose of having like in a World of Difference group is at the Parker Middle School? And then what do you think some of the ways that you think, activities like this and other activities may be able to make Parker a better place for students?
I feel as though as it's like a better way. I feel as though AWOD's a better way to connect with people of color and allies, and I also feel as though it's a safe space to share personal experiences and to help teach others and to learn from others too. And yeah.
Great.
Good job,
Do
London.
you want to share, Jasmine? It looks like you were going forward. I don't want to put the pressure on you.
Well, I think it could be a good opportunity for people since I personally joined because I experienced racism myself in the school, and I was thinking it could prevent that and help change people's minds or something.
Yeah, so I think that this is also another eventual goal of the group is to, I think, help change our advisory curriculum to some things that a lot of homeroomers don't usually do advisory, right? And we've been working on making it something that relates to what our group is trying to do to cause positive change in our community, the change that we want to see.
Great. Any questions from anybody else in the committee? Thank you. We do have a small tradition, though, so you're going to have to bear with us in that we take pictures for everybody who comes. We'll gather together and take a picture
Okay.
to celebrate the excellence that you brought to us, so. Okay?
Thanks
Meet us
for
in
letting
front.
us share these amazing students. Thank you.
Right on around up here.
Trying to be polite.
Sean, smile, I got you too. He's serious, yes.
No, hands back up.
Jazz hands, Sean, jazz hands.
You gotta put them back up or it's not gonna work.
All right, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Nice to be here. You guys did a great job.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks again to our students. We know it's not easy to come up and speak in front of an audience, and also from a lot of folks watching at home. We'd also, most importantly, like to thank you for our leadership in our communities. I think the most important, the most impactful change can happen from student leadership. So we really appreciate you stepping up and putting yourselves out there and being leaders and role models in our communities. We look forward to following the work that you do this year and also next year as many of you come here and continue to lead at the high school. So really, really amazing job, and thank you for your work.
Always ended up really nicely. Thank you for your work. Makes it a lot easier on me. Okay, so let's move on. Thank you all again, and have a wonderful evening. We're going to move on to the consent agenda, and in our motion, we need to pull out the Pat's Peak in Henniker, New Hampshire ski trip. Or I can amend it after the fact, if that's easier.
It's in where, New Hampshire?
No,
Can I say Pat's Peak?
Pat's Peak, so go ahead. Pat's Peak ski.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the Pat's Peak ski trip planned for the upcoming weekend.
Second.
Seconded by Chuck. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Sean? Yes. Chuck?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Tom? Yes. It passes 6-0. Okay, so we'll move on, and we have reports starting with our...
Can I say one thing about the consent agenda, too? Sorry, I maybe missed that in advance, too. I just want to flag, too, we realize that there's a request in there for a field trip. That's for the Robockets. That was in New Hampshire. We also, so it was a request that came before there was going to be another school committee meeting. So I did email the committee and just give them a heads up that this was, coming, yet we couldn't get formal approval until tonight's meeting. I just wanted to flag, I think Sean had a good idea of potentially looking at the policy moving forward, a field trip approval, even if something's in New Hampshire, maybe southern New Hampshire, in some sort of radius where we have a lot of students who are going to, athletic events, musical, competitions, performances, that sometimes that turnaround time doesn't allow us to get it in front of school committee. So I just want to flag that for some time so we don't have to have the retroactive approval. So just something to consider as we move forward.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll move on to reports. And according to our order, Dr. Hardy.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. Just a few things to fill you in on this evening. We had a really successful internship fair today at the high school, and it was for our high school seniors who are looking still for an internship opportunity for the spring. We had over 30 local companies come, and students were able to meet with them and talk about what an internship might look like. Happened during Flex Block, and so we're excited that it might have felt like a job fair to our students, and that's one of the things, the skills we're building through the internship program, is for students to understand a range of employment opportunities and advocate for what they're looking for. So big thank you to Megan Rondo, who is taking the lead this year. She's one of our school counselors at the high school in getting our internships up and running and ensuring our seniors have those great opportunities. I have a few updates tonight that relate to our arts program at the high school. You hear me talk a lot about math and reading and such, but a critical component of what we offer our students as well are opportunities to learn in the field of the arts. We know that it increases students' creativity, innovation, communication skills, cultural awareness, and ability to collaborate with others. So they are very important to us. We have 2 students that we'd like to recognize who are going to be awarded the 2024 Scholastic Arts and Writing Award in the photography category. They are Ryan Fox and Annabelle Goldie. So we just received that news today, I believe, so very proud of them. It's exciting. Additionally, our jazz band just recently was awarded a gold medal at the Paul M. Alberta Norwood Jazz Classic. So very exciting for that group. And I believe they're going to be playing somewhat locally here in Reading in the beginning of March too. So if folks want to come and see this amazing group. And then one other sort of shout out, our drama club is going to be participating this coming weekend in the METG High School Festival. And this is like a large scale festival where drama clubs put on a short performance. And our club is going to be at the Westford Academy location in Westford, Mass. So if anybody wants to go, you can purchase tickets and get to see, it's The Great Gatsby, the short adapted play. So we're really excited for that opportunity for our students. I believe it's been a while since our students have participated in that. So this is definitely a step in the right direction for our program. So that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Hardy? Nope, all right. Dr. Stice?
Thank you very much. As our Parker students kind of showed us, we're really trying to work very hard on creating safe and supported learning environments, both emotionally and physically, and we've been partnering with our Reading town counterparts at our children's cabinet to really increase our social emotional supports looking at the whole child. And I just wanted to do a special thank you tonight to Mary Juliana, our Director of Nursing and Health and Wellness, for the work she's doing outreach with our community members, Joe Thomas and Donna Fitzpatrick from the Lions Club, Dr. Barrett from Reading Eye Care, and Dr. McHale from Ideal Eye Care. They are all working together to do evaluations for our students, and we've been able to get glasses for both our Reading residents and our Boston residents who didn't have opportunities to get that before, and it's very exciting. We also really wanted to thank Morgan Fustano from Convenient MD. They have given us vouchers for free physicals. If anyone needs one, they can talk to their school nurse. And our school physician actually is doing free sports physicals on Mondays. So if anyone needs that, we have opened that access. And we're also exploring partnerships with Embrace Pathways. So we are really excited the way that Reading is really looking at all of our children and making sure everyone has what they need, and we're very grateful to all the school staff and the community for coming together to support our students.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Stice? Okay, seeing none. Dr. Milczewski?
Great. 2 updates. First update, Tom gave a little bit of a teaser, is around breakfast. So we are going to be required next year to have breakfast in all of our schools for all of our students, which we think is really exciting. There are now 2 sites which have got breakfast sort of up and running. The high school now has a breakfast cart, which we've talked about. The past meeting, this past week, we launched breakfast at Killam. So actually on day 3, which was yesterday, we had 165 students, which is about a third of the school, eat breakfast, so which is really exciting. I think they're seeing that the demand is already really shaping up. So just kind of just a plug for, or kind of an update for the rest of the community. That will be coming sort of through all of our other schools over the next couple of months and into next year too, but something we're excited about. Next updates around the Killam School Building Project. Carla may give a brief update during the liaison update. I just wanted to share 2 updates around the project. I think the project's really moving forward full steam ahead. The first kind of update and thank you I'd like to give is we have a couple of staff members at Killam who I think are going above and beyond to really support the project, particularly around the educational visioning and the educational planning planning of the school. That is Katie Cole, kindergarten teacher, Joelle McGinnity, third grade teacher, and then Denise Iozzo. You cannot put a title on Denise. Denise does everything in the building. And they have just been spending hours helping us to map out educationally what does this building really need. And I think they've been listening to the voices of the staff and helping to shape that too. So it's like a big thank you to them for all the time that they're investing too. Also, we're excited to announce tonight that we are launching our Killam School Building Project website. So tonight, as of 7 p.m., this website is live. I am locked out of this computer, so I can show you. Tom, if you're sharing your screen, he can go to killamschool.com. I don't know if you can, once you can share your screen. Here we go, and if you can pause there on the site too, you'll see that as the site refreshes, you'll see some different photos of the school, particularly some drone photos, which I think are really good footage of the school. And as you continue to scroll down a little bit on the site, you're going to see a variety of features. Just a little delay, okay. So I'll watch the screen. So you'll see an About Killam section, a little bit of an update around like the project schedule and timeline, members of our team, and this includes both members of the Killam School Building Committee and also of our the project team, which is the members of LBA and also Colliers. There is also more information continuing to scroll down around.
Picture of Mike Carroll right there.
It's a youthful Mike Carroll right there. Project updates, which is going to be consistently refreshed with various happenings, which you'll see tonight around the community meeting around sustainability goals. That will consistently refresh with other projects, updates, things happening. If you click on those, you don't need to right now, Tom, you can see that many of those link directly to a presentation as well. The what's ahead of project, that's the more detailed timeline of the project. Official documents, those are, it's a kind of housed in, it looks like in a Google Doc sort of style folder. There's a variety of documents if you really want to get in the weeds on some of those too about what's happening in the project. Things including some of the document submissions from MSBA, some of the meeting minutes from Killam School Building Committee. Continue to scroll down, some videos relating to the project, and these will continue to kind of share more information about what's happening. An FAQ section that's going to be growing, and then last but not least, in the bottom of the site is also I should say two things. One, a spot where you can engage and share information, feedback, questions with the community, and also a spot where you can put there's a calendar tab on the far right where you're also able to have things synced directly in your calendar and all updates happening around the project. So now that that is live, I will share that this is sort of the first time we've released this. If you have feedback or things that you think we should do to kind of improve this site, please let us know. We will continue to add content on this, and we see that this is going to be sort of the primary spot for us to house all information related to the Killam School Building Project. I want to give a huge thank you to three folks on their work on this. First, Carla. I know Carla has helped us to kind of create like a vision of what this could and should look like, and has spent a lot of time helping to map that out for our community. Two, parent Chris Haley, parent of both Birch and Anna Coolidge, helping us with his expertise in this work to volunteer his time to help us put together this site, which I think looks really incredible, and bring this together. Spent hours of time, days, really helping us behind the scenes, not only to get things up and running, but also the third person I'm going to thank to help coach Olivia Lejeune in our office around how do you sort of upkeep and maintain this website, which will be housed on the school side as well. So a huge thank you to Chris for all your time and energy and effort on this. And also thank you to Olivia for all the time that she's invested in this as well. As a bit of context in the project, we did allocate a significant amount of funding towards the potential, of the website, of having a website. As we looked at quotes from some outside vendors, it was between $28,000 to $35,000 for I see some of the face out there, for a company to sort of get a website up and running, which for all of us just didn't think was a great use of taxpayer funds to be going to that. And so we just didn't have a great solution other than that. So I just really, again, thank Chris for stepping up and filling that void, because I think this looks great. I think this can compete with a lot of the sites that have paid that kind of money for a site. So we're really excited to keep this up and running, and hopefully this is a great vehicle for us to keep the community informed in the project, and you still will continue to see things updated on here as we move forward. But killamschool.com it is, and you'll also see that link directly on the Killam page too.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Malachewski?
And just so we're clear, Chris did not accept any money for this. This was he did this as a parent volunteer. So we're, huge shout out and huge thank you to him for, one, he got it up in 2 weeks. I mean, this was a huge amount of work for the past 2 weeks. And it just, you're not going to get any better than that. Just I'm really pleased with it, so thank you.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to liaison reports. Chuck?
It's tough to follow.
Pickleball?
Say it.
No. 2 meetings last week, a very robust agenda at our recreation meeting that didn't include pickleball. A lot of things. I won't go through them all because they're not school-related, but it was a long meeting. The SWEC also met on Wednesday night, and we formulated our who's doing what relative to our presentation to the select board, which we're going to do sometime in March, the end of March, I believe. So
Okay.
that's it.
Great, thank you. Carla?
Thank you. I'll give a little bit of an update on Killam. Just quick to the project website, too. At the bottom, there is a link to our Facebook page. So if people could go and like it, as of, like, right now, there's 3 of us who have liked it. So if people can just go like it, you can be getting a lot of information through that as well. We had a community meeting on sustainability right before this meeting. We had about 20 people here, 10 people online. So we talked about sustainability goals. Our next community meeting is Monday, March 18th at 7 o'clock here, and we're going to be talking about the site and traffic. So please come to that, and that will all be posted on our website. That's it. We had marathon meetings this week with our education group and teachers, and just talking about the building and what we want it to look like. Thank you.
Okay, Erin?
I'll just share that PEAR met last night, and we got the preliminary DEI community survey results, which was really interesting. We had some good breakouts to sort of talk about why the responses were the way they were, but we should be on the lookout for that presentation at the select board meeting, because there's definitely implications for the school, so.
Okay. Sarah?
No updates.
Sean?
I'll just report the Killam School Building Project Facebook page is now up to 6 followers, so that's great news. Good promotional work there, Carla. Tom, I assume you'll cover FinCom last night. Otherwise, I have no additional report.
Yeah, FinCom was last night. Our presentation, Dr. Milczewski, Dr. Pinto, myself, and Sean were there to present on the school budget. They had a few additional questions they pre-asked with regards to contract updates, which you just heard one of them just a few minutes ago, plus the 3 we've already approved. We went through some of the Killam, budget-related status items that are out there. We confirmed for them that we're on track for full-day kindergarten as we plan for free full-day kindergarten. And otherwise, I think it went very, very well. They had a lot of good questions, but the overall feedback and tenor and tone was really, really, really positive. So I think, again, a kudos to Dr. Milczewski, Dr. Pinto, and the team for all the hard work they did in preparing the budget pack and everything else. Anything you want to add? Nope. Okay, so that said, it's time for us to move on, and our old business, and Dr. Milczewski, the school calendar.
Great. This, I think, should be pretty quick, too. So, as you know, we're seeking the vote and approval of the calendar for 24-25. We haven't made any significant changes from the last iteration, which we presented a couple of weeks ago. The small changes that we put are in the packet. I just wanted to flag a couple of things for you as you look through it. One, again, the high schools continue to review the feedback from the pilot schedule, so that may have implications if that on updates that need to be made. If that's the case, then we'll come back with a revised schedule. Two, one spot, committee member flagged this for us, thank you, Sarah, too. Where it says under the winter break, it does have, it has, as you'll see, I don't know if you want to pull it up if you're able, but it has on the vacation days, it says V for every day, yet on Christmas, it has an H. That should be a V. The rationale being the only days that we have H's on there are days that there wouldn't normally be school, and there is not school during that entirety of the week. So just to keep it consistent, we're going to move that back to a letter V for those who are closely tracking on that too. Other than that, we thank the union for their feedback and helping us to arrive at this point. Thank the committee for their feedback on the calendar, and feel like it reflects all the feedback that we've heard, except for one last piece. I know both the union and the chair have raised the point of we're ending school on a Monday, and that might be the least attended day, I think Tom says, in Reading Public School history. We talked about that with our union too. We just think that, making a shift on that at this point, with the potential to have a snow day or things like that, it just doesn't, we didn't think ultimately made sense to make that shift and put an extra, day in earlier or take a day here. So we are going to stick with that. I will try not to make any more snow day calls without snow, but with hopefully we get one snow where we can actually push it back and have it not end on a Monday. So.
You really want more snow, huh?
I need some validation. So.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So the H versus V, so why wouldn't April and February break be all V?
They should be all V.
Okay, they both start with an H.
Good catch.
Okay,
And
so we'll be consistent on all three?
Correct.
Okay.
Can I piggyback on that? Well, I was going to say, the other thing, what's included on the calendar view, federal holidays versus on the second back page, it says additional holidays. So just for consistency, we can either keeping the H where it's a federal holiday, a V if it's just another vacation day. So like November 29th is technically should be a V because that's not a federal holiday. And then on the back, my friendly amendment request would be to remove the word additional before major religious and cultural holidays.
Yep.
I think the original planning, and I haven't checked to see if this still holds through, is that if it was on that front page listed as a holiday, so for example, Patriots Day is, then the holiday was indicated on the calendar. And then items that are indicated on the second page in that list were not necessarily indicated on the front calendar.
Gotcha.
So the Christmas update didn't make it to the front page.
Right. So either we add it on the front
Yeah, that's why I
or
was like, take out additional.
Consistency.
Yeah. Christmas is the only religious holiday that's a federal
It's the only one that doesn't sort of fit
So-
the pattern, I think.
Good catch, Sarah.
As much as I would like November 29th to be a holiday, it's not technically a holiday.
Most of us have to work that day, yeah.
I agree.
I get it off. But.
Okay, any other feedback or comment on the calendar? We have a motion, Erin?
Motion to approve the 2024-25 school calendar
As amended.
as amended.
Second.
Seconded by Carla. All right, saying no further, since I already asked, we'll do the roll call vote. Sean? Yes. Chuck?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Erin?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Tom? Yes. Passes 6-0. Okay, so we will now move to take out of order, since we have so many members of the team here to present with us, our special education program review progress tracking update. So Erin, if I can get a motion for E3 to be moved out of order.
Motion to take item E3 out of order.
Second.
Seconded by Chuck. All right, Sean? Yes. Chuck?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Erin?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Tom? Yes. So 6-0, that passes, and we are taking that one out of order. Allison, are you coming up? Okay. So Dr. Stice and
Yep, and I think our team is going to also come up.
Circle around?
And as they go over their piece, they'll sit down and then can move.
Rob, do you know the password to get onto this computer if you want me to share?
I had it at one point, but I don't know it.
Rob, do you have the password to get onto this computer?
Has the presentation changed from what's in the deck?
Nope. I mean, you can share, it doesn't matter. It's up to you. I don't mind.
I have it. I'm not ready.
I gotcha.
Okay, beat me to it, good.
All right, perfect. Thank you, everyone. We are really excited to be here tonight to talk about some updates around our special education programming. First of all, we are really very grateful for our partnership with the Learning and Teaching Department, all of our building leaders, the teachers, paraeducators, and related service providers. Everyone is working so hard to make sure we are really, truly supporting our students appropriately. So tonight, what you're going to have is a high-level overview of some of our targeted focused areas. We're happy to answer any questions. We didn't go into great detail, but by the end of the year, we'll do a written update with a detail towards every recommendation that has been made. So what is going to happen tonight is we're going to just give a quick review of some of the slides you've already seen about why we do this work. Then Allison Wright, our Director of Special Education, is going to talk about some updates across all of our programs, and then each of our program coordinators are going to speak a little bit about the progress towards their specific program. The only one who couldn't be with us tonight is Renee Lamar. She's our literacy specialist. It's her birthday, and since she only has one every 4 years, we did let her keep her dinner reservations in Boston. But just so you all know, when we get the program review for our lead program, Renee will be here to be part of that, and so that you all can ask questions and get to hear from Renee a little bit. So just as a very quick reminder, and we've shown this at every review that we've done, this is a requirement from the federal law. It's part of the state tiered focus monitoring that we review at least one program every year. And the goal of the program reviews, really truly for us, is we want to have transparent outcomes, and we want to provide clear reports on progress and next steps to all of you and to the community, because people are working very hard, and we have such a belief in our students and really the urgency that this is impacting students every single day. And so for us, we're taking that very seriously and making sure that we are implementing the recommendations. And we just wanted to flag for everybody the reports that we have done already since 2019, and we are very grateful for the committee for helping to fund these and our support for going through all of them, and the work that the staff put in and the parents to give feedback. And right now, tentatively, we are planning to do an external evaluation of our specially designed reading instruction next year. I know that several of the committee members have asked about that, and we really wanted to be targeted. So that is our plan. More to come on that one. We're still kind of working out some of the details. So now we're going to turn it over to Allison Wright and the team to do a little bit more.
All right, so hello everybody. So we wanted to start first by giving an overview of some of the recommendations that were seen across many of our reports that we received of our programs, and things that we've already implemented across this year. So the first one was hiring a program administrator. This is something that we've talked about in previous presentations, and we started this process by working with our program coordinators that you'll all meet tonight. And we said in previous discussions that we really wanted to take this time to see how this worked, how effective it is with the team chairs taking on this additional role of doing the program coordination. So that's something that we continue to look at throughout the school year. We are considering shifting to a full-time program coordinator, which was the original recommendation in the evaluation. So that's something that we are still really looking into for next year. So more to come on that. Another one was hiring the transition specialist. As you know, we did hire a transition specialist. Madison Burns has been an amazing addition to our staff this year. She's working very closely with the high school. She will be working with the middle school eventually. We really wanted to focus on the high school. And she's also spending a lot of time working with our development of our new LIFT program, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. The next one was updating our program descriptions. All of our program descriptions have been updated. They are posted on the website for everybody to look at. The next one on the next slide is increasing that parent and staff communication. So that's something we've been focusing on in many different modes of individually talking to parents, with students within programs. We've been doing program updates on a quarterly basis, and we're continuing to work with our programs vertically to work on that alignment vertically. Professional development has continued to be a big focus this year. You all know that we hired the inclusion specialist, Jackie Pelusi, this school year. She's been doing a lot of work with professional development with our teachers, our special ed teachers, our general ed teachers, and coaching and modeling in the inclusion setting, really talking about that least restrictive environment and how we can meet students' needs within that setting. She's also been doing a lot of professional development with our paraprofessionals at the elementary and middle school level, as well as one of our team chairs, Victoria Ryan, has been working with high school paraeducators, so we're really excited about that work. And then the last overall recommendation was focusing on transition planning. So that's been a big focus for us this year. We've been working with the team chairs as well as working with the building principals about that, not only that transition from between buildings, but also that transition from grade level to grade level. We want to make sure those are smooth transitions for our students on IEPs. We have plans of documenting transition plans for every student on an IEP. We're also doing some presentations with CPAC this spring, so those dates are posted. So we're doing it both in person and virtually, so we can have parents meet their next team chair, so we can really have that connection moving between buildings. So we're excited about that. We're going to be recording that presentation. We will post it on the website so people that aren't able to get to that presentation have access to it as well. The next slide just is an example of just some of the feedback that we've gotten from our para PD with Jackie Pelusi. It has been very well received. We've been doing a lot of very targeted professional development. This is just a little sample of just feedback that we've gotten from survey results from the paras, just to show their increase in their engagement and their knowledge level. She's been focusing a lot with the middle school para educators on the new IEP that's coming out for next year, and it's really focused on the accommodations and how that they're implementing those in the classroom. So that's exciting.
Alice, I just want to share one thing on that too, is that I know when you add a new role that's like new for a district, you're constantly evaluating sort of how is it working. I just wanted to kind of emphasize Alice's point on the role, particularly around the inclusion specialist. I think that role, from like what I'm hearing directly from staff and from leaders, that role is really working. And I think that role is really working for two reasons generally. Is one, is Jackie herself is someone being in that role who has been a longtime educator in the district, I think carries a ton of respect, like street cred with the staff, because she's done it and she's been there and she's gotten results, and I think staff really look to her as a leader and a role model in that work. Secondly, because I think that staff for so long have asked for coaching and support, like in the moment, around what they can do to support a student who they're struggling with in an inclusion setting. And that's maybe not something you can constantly glean from a PD or from but to have someone who that is their skill set, to be able to be there as a resource, a thought partner, a support, and someone who they knows what they're talking about, I think has been really impactful. So I just wanted to obviously thank Jackie, but to say that that's for the community. That's been a role that we've really been encouraged by thus far.
I completely agree. Thank you for expanding on that. Just meeting with her yesterday, I said a lot of those things with her, and she's able to give these skills, these examples of activities that teachers can implement right away. It is something that can be used right in the moment, which is really helpful and very exciting that the teachers are really appreciating that. So next we're going to do specific updates by each of our programs. So how we're going to do it, the first slide of each section are the specific recommendations from the program review. So we're going to do a very high-level overview of these by each of our program coordinators, and then the following slides are going to be updates on what the initiatives, what we have been doing so far this year. So that first slide is really just from the recommendations right from the review. So we're going to start with Kelly DeCato.
So like Allison said, this is the list of recommendations from the REACH program review. And kind of some of the highlights here are really thinking about that transition planning that you had mentioned, our program description, make sure that was really clear and concise for the community and for families, thinking about our social emotional learning curriculum, as well as how do we define our staff roles within the program. So when we go to the next slide and we think about kind of what we have focused on really this year, these are our major initiatives, the things that kind of the most important things that we focused on this school year. So we're currently in the process of pursuing some additional training in ACT, which is called Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. It is a therapeutic structure that's backed by research to support our social emotional learning of our students. And what's been really exciting is in years past, we at the elementary level, we were using the second step curriculum within REACH, and now Barrows is using that with the entire school community from a general education standpoint, and so we're able to build on top of that. And so this PD will help us with one of these other bullet points, which we're pursuing a social emotional curriculum just for REACH to build on top of all of those tier 1 and tier 2 interventions, which will be great. We are focusing our end of winter, spring vertical meeting, really focusing on transitioning for those kiddos who are switching between levels, elementary to middle and middle to high school. So we were able to start that at our last vertical meeting. In collaboration with SOAR, the SOAR program coordinator, Melissa, we have applied for the reducing timeout grant, which DESE was offering. So we filled in that application. We are working with Parker administration to think about what schedule changes need to happen for next year. So this was the first year that REACH was at Parker. And so it had a really smooth transition, but as you grow and learn and you figure out new things that need to be added, we want to make sure that that schedule for next year has all the components that we need it to have. We're also thinking about our summer PD this summer. So REACH right now at Parker is in grades 6 and 7, so it will be new to grade 8 at REACH next year. So we need to think about that transition for those general education teachers and what PD they're going to need over the summer. Some of our REACH staff are part of our district SEB committee, which is our social emotional behavioral committee that is being run by our lead social worker. We are continuing to think about our staff roles, and from our general education partners to our special ed teachers, our counselors, and our paraeducators, really refining those roles. What is the expectation of everybody in that role within the REACH program? And finally, we really have had the ability to build in some staff meeting times, particularly to focus on program development at kind of a program level, as well as specific student consultation and social emotional programming for individual students. So it's been nice to have that collaboration time at different levels. Good. Okay.
Right, next we're going to have Melissa Forbes talking about the SOAR program.
Hi, everyone. So the SOAR there's 3 pages of recommendations, so I'll go through them. But basically, the big buckets are around hiring was one. There's a lot of recommendations for hiring staff. Structure, program structure and instruction, as well as training. So those are kind of like the big buckets that all of those pages of recommendations are. I'm going to start with the hiring, and I'm going to piggyback on Tom. I think Jackie Pelusi has been one of the key pieces of this year for me. This is my first year at Birch with the elementary SOAR program, and knowing that the sub-separate programs there, she has been really working hard with our staff at other buildings as well as at Birch of how to keep kids more in their least restrictive environment and all the tools that she has. She's been part of our student support team sometimes to help give some feedback there. So she has really been a key component to a lot of the programming for the SOAR teachers and helping them as well. The other piece is the additional BCBA that was hired. That BCBA has really helped support the teachers around, behavior programming, how to really keep kids in the classroom, and how to support, things that are happening in the classroom, not just with our special ed kids, but all students that, are struggling. So those 2 components, those hires, I think were huge hires for the SOAR program this year. Thinking about instruction and training, in our vertical meetings, we've been doing a lot talking about program structure and how are we, keeping kids in our least restrictive environment, and, knowing that there's students who are full inclusion, partial inclusion, and sub-separate, and what does that mean? And how do we wean the students, if they are sub-separate, how are we getting them into partial? Talking about those kind of skills that they need for that. So our last PD that we did vertically, and it was Embark, Sail, and SOAR together, having these conversations and looking at those caseloads and really analyzing, the services they have, and talking about that end goal of them to be, I have a job, and those types of things, knowing from kindergarten to there, and what do we need to do to build those skills to get there. So really having those conversations with teachers, elementary teachers, hearing the high school teachers talk about it, so everyone knows kind of like, we're not in isolation here. What we're doing here affects what happens up there. So really having those conversations has been great. The last one we had was awesome, and then we're now planning a PD to really have other people come in to see if, I can't remember the woman's name, but I think you'll talk about it when they get to you, but about the best practices of kind of how to wean those services and really those inclusion pieces. Another piece we're doing is the training with paras, a lot of our sub-separate paras, setting time aside that they have with their teachers to talk about the plans of the students, how we're working with them, if things need to shift. So really building in that time that paras didn't have with teachers. We're really looking at that and setting that time aside so those paras feel like they're supported and can support the students in that way. And then really one of the big things that I've been doing at Birch this year with our staff at our department meetings is really looking at students' grids and thinking about how they're, what are we doing to help make them be independent. That's our ultimate goal, is for our students to be independent and not require the supports. There's going to be students that are going to need more as they go, continue to need that, but really trying to, make sure we're giving them the least that they need, and that's truly our ultimate goal.
All right, so I'm going to be just reviewing the LEAD program since Renee is off celebrating her birthday. So as you all are aware, we're in the process of completing the evaluation of the LEAD program. MGH IHP is finishing up. We are really hopeful that it's going to be done soon, and we'll be able to review it with you all this spring. So we wanted to take some of the information from our last program evaluation of the LEAD program, which was called the Bridge program at that point. It was reviewed, that Parker Middle School's Bridge program was reviewed in the 2017-2018 school year. So the recommendations that are on the screen now are from that evaluation, and we wanted to give just an update on the work that we've been doing within the LEAD program and how it's connected to the recommendations from this past evaluation as well. So the big buckets of recommendations, there are 3 pages, I think, again, maybe even 4 of recommendations. The big buckets were around assessment, educator experiences, instruction and professional development, and communication with families. So on the next slide, this one, it talks about what we have been really focusing on over the past how many years that is, 6 years since that was done. So we've been spending a lot of time since 2020 working on our very specific professional development around reading evaluation. So we've done a lot of work with Melissa Orkin and Crafting Minds to train many of our staff in how do we assess students with reading deficits. So we did train all of our school psychologists, all of our special education teachers, our speech and language pathologists, and our building principals with understanding reading in the brain and how do we evaluate, and use a very specific protocol for really looking deeply into those areas of deficit and how do we match the correct instructional practices to those deficits. So we're very excited about all of that work. That work is continuing. So we even had a joint meeting today with our team chairs and our school psychologists to continue to review and talk about this. So it's something that's ongoing all the time. So continuing to work there. We've implemented the Language Live program and the RAVO program, so Language Live at the middle and high school, and RAVO at the elementary level. That was a direct recommendation from the previous evaluation. A lot of other work that we've been doing with professional development with landmark outreach and many different other programs. We've done a lot of training with increasing our number of students that are Wilson certified. For AT, there was some recommendations around assistive technology. We now have Google Read and Write for all students across the entire district, so that's not just in the LEAD program, that's for all of our students, and those are functions within that students can access through Google for literacy support. So that's something that's exciting that everybody has access to. We have some additional AT components that we've been working on. We have, this year, we're really excited about the middle school advisory that we're doing at Parker. We've been working with the team chair, Kimberly Bryson, the school psychologist there, the special education teachers within the LEAD program, to be working with the advisory to really understand students' disabilities and how that impacts them, how their brain works, and how all those components. It's been very well received. It's been, the students have been very engaged in the conversations. We're now working on moving that down to the elementary level, which is starting this month, so we're excited about that. We're going to bring some of the Parker staff down to the elementary, to Joshua Eaton as well, so we can start that transition process too, because we want to have that smooth transition and have connections to the middle school as well for our fifth graders. We've been working on that executive functioning, direct instructions. They've implemented the SMARTS curriculum at both the middle school and the high school within the LEAD program. There's a whole list of all the literacy PD there. And then, again, just reviewing that we are working on the program review with MGH. So a lot of work has been going on, and we're excited to get that next review to see what our next steps should be focused on. So next, we're going to talk about SAIL, and we're going to ask Adam Blaustein and SAIL and Embark, Adam Blaustein and Tina Nutter, to come up and talk about these two programs.
All right. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So some of the recommendations that were made were program administrators, which Tina and I we're co-leading the SAIL and Embark programs, and really just taking a deeper look at the referral process for our students. And we hired a transition specialist. I know we talked about the work that Madison's doing, and I know she's working very closely with our SAIL, Embark, and REACH students, and really, taking a closer look of how we can best support our students, and again, really with the lens of like inclusion and independence. So some of the initiatives that we've had is Tina and I have spent a lot of time really taking a close look at students' IEPs, looking at previous testing, their previous evaluations, and really spending a lot of time at Wood End, at Coolidge, and in the high school, and really getting to know the students, getting to know the staff, and really seeing them in different settings, whether it be in their sub-separate setting or students that are spending more time in the inclusion setting, and how they're we're seeing a lot of successes and really familiarizing ourselves with the students, a lot of outreach with the parents as well. I know Allison talked a little bit about the phone calls, and we've had different events where we've had opportunities to meet parents face to face as well and hear about their child and what their hopes and dreams are. Another big initiative that started last school year was the unified sports. We had a really successful unified basketball season I think last spring, was it? And I know it carried into the fall. And just being at those games, it's just, to see the students having success on the basketball court, getting along together, teamwork, working with their neurotypical peers that are on the team, just seeing all those students together, it's really something else. So I highly recommend going and seeing a game.
The group of them was just at the basketball game also.
Oh, yeah.
So they had there together, and they all sit together, which is really nice to see. And they're doing unified strength and conditioning also, so in addition to the unified basketball.
Our Best Buddies program, I know, has, from years ago when I was at the high school, the Best Buddies program has been just growing. More and more students have been involved with that. And, our SAIL and Embark students have had more and more opportunities, different community outings, a partnership with the YMCA students. We can't say enough about the work that the students are going at the YMCA. We have some students that go swimming, they're working out, and just really being visible throughout the community. we're also taking a look at our students' needs and the caseloads and really, making sure that they're in the best educational setting to be successful. This year, we're piloting a new data collection system, really how we're collecting data, how are we seeing student growth, and really trying to find out what is the best data collection system that we can make the most informed decisions for our students. And again, working with our inclusion specialist, working with Jackie, she has so much experience working at Wood End, and I know she's been, throughout the district now, especially at the elementary level. So really, receiving, any input that she has on how our students can be successful. And we've had some meetings with staff vertically a few times. We have on the March 18th in-service day, we're going to be spending some more time with our Salem and Bark staff and SOAR as well. And then looking at some summer professional development opportunities. I know Tina's kind of taken the lead with that, and some good things coming down the pipe.
I just wanted to add the YMCA partnership. We've had a couple students that have been working there on internship over the summer. And then in addition, we went to a Red Sox game with them. It was funded by the rec and the YMCA, and we're going to a Celtics game on March 18th. And so a lot of our best buddy peers go in addition to that. So it's really been a great partnership with the Y. They have been fantastic to work with. They're taking our kids in. Our kids are working in the front of the YMCA. They know a lot of the people coming in, and they've really enjoyed that. And just the second piece, the transition specialist just has been a huge addition at the high school for us. She's built a lot of jobs in the community already, and we have those jobs ready for our students that are going into the 18 to 22-year-old program, as well as work with kids directly throughout the year, and we're not having to sub out for our transition evaluations, which has been fantastic.
Great.
Thank you.
Right, so as Tina was just talking about, our 18 to 22-year-old program, we don't have an evaluation of that, of course, yet, because it has not been started yet. But we have been we wanted to give a quick update on what we've been working on this year, because our plan is to be launching that this summer as students are transitioning to that program. So the next page just goes over a lot of the work that we've been doing. So the biggest piece is really that developing our vision for what the program is. And we've been working on the program description as well as a flyer that's able to outline all of the different components. So we're really excited about the work that we've been doing on that. Madison, again, the transition specialist, has been a key component of helping to outline a lot of the pieces in here, as well as the high school staff. Tina has been a big part of that team, as well as the other team chair at the High School of Victoria, Jess Eyre, the Embark teacher at the high school, Carly Cohen, the BCBA at the high school. As a team, we've been really spending a lot of time working together. We meet every other week. We're doing a lot of work together on this, so we're excited. We've been analyzing the needs, so the staffing needs, spacing needs, material needs. Starting a whole new program there's a lot of components that we need to be planning. We're starting that search for the teacher. Madison has been working really hard building those community partners, or expanding on those community partners. Looking for expanding our job sites at both internally and externally in the community. So we've been really looking at, we have some students that will be requiring jobs within the school building to start before we go out into the community to practice those job skills. So she's been looking at both areas. We continue to partner with pre-ETs for different job skills and other transition activities. And we've done a lot of visitation with and discussions with other communities, because it's really helpful to be seeing what other programs are up and running, what are the different components that they have. So we've gone to in-person visits in 2 communities, Gloucester and Littleton, and then we've had multiple conversations with districts over Zoom calls and on the phone with a larger group of us, or just Madison. So we've had lots of different conversations, which has been really helpful to help get ideas and build partnerships too. We've had a lot of discussions about how can we expand those connections, the social connections with our students, with our program, because we have a smaller program, so we want to be able to expand that cohort for them, and have different leisure activities or community outings that we can go together. So we're excited about that work. All right, so next we're going to talk about RISE. Carrie Wilcox is going to join.
Hi, everybody. So just to review a little bit with you, the recommendations that the program review had for RISE, really kind of talking about some major categories like the culture of RISE, communication among the RISE community, parents, staff, administration, the curriculum, programming, the program structure. RISE has been working really hard on all of these things, starting before I even arrived here. So Dr. King really dove in to these recommendations while she was the interim director last year. And so the work really started then. Around that culture piece, I know that the staff did a lot of work with Dr. King and Julia Hendricks around team building. And for me, as I came in, as any new administrator would, I've really tried to dive in and build relationships with the staff at RISE and really get a feel for where we are now after all of that work has been done and know how to continue on with that. So we, are constantly really working together to strengthen those partnerships among the team so that we can stay focused on kids and what they need. So that work is ongoing. In terms of communication, we're working with families. That's really one of our main focuses at RISE, not just for families whose children attend RISE, but also little ones in the Reading community who are not yet a part of our school community, who may be in need of special education evaluation. Parents have questions about sort of where their little ones are. And so RISE, our team, is their first connection with Reading Public Schools. And so we've worked really hard to try to build those relationships from before day one, because when you're a mom or dad or caregiver and you have concerns about your child and you make that phone call to RISE, it's really important that you feel important and that you matter, right? So we work really hard on that. So every family that either comes to us through early intervention or calls because they have questions about their child's development, we really make an effort. I talk with every family to understand more about their child and what path we need to do, to take to move forward, to help to determine what supports they might need. We also have tried to streamline our communication with families for students that are already at RISE, making sure that consistent communication is coming from classroom teachers and other service providers, and also from me. Making ourselves available, through the traditional ways, back to school night, those things, but also opening our doors for families who are interested in RISE, whether they have a child that has special needs or they don't. We had a really successful come and learn about RISE night a few weeks ago that was really well attended by families who are interested in our program just because it's a great preschool, and also families who have students that require the specialized supports that RISE offers. It was really well attended, and I think for us, it's important to let the community know what we stand for, that we're an inclusive preschool whose, the reason why we exist is to support little ones from ages 3 to 5 that have special needs. And so anyway, that was another successful event for us, having coffee with me and also Tracy Pluchek, who is our team chair. That was another change that happened as a result of this program review, was that Tracy Pluchek became, she is our part-time team chair, which
previous to last year, the director was doing the role of program director and also team chair. And so having that split now has really allowed us to focus on making sure that that special education referral process runs smoothly for our new families, but also allows the program director role to expand and really get into classrooms and make sure that the curriculum piece is being addressed and gives, allows for that flexibility, because a lot of the recommendations around making sure that our preschool program is a fantastic preschool program for all kids, not just those that might have special needs or just those that don't, but everyone. And so giving the director role more time to work with staff on those goals has been great. All of the professional development that we've been doing this year to help us align with the preschool standards, help make sure that our evaluation processes are being run with fidelity, regardless of who your evaluator is, and also looking at our program configurations. And one of the first steps toward that was the opening of our 5-day transitional classroom, which offers a more supportive preschool experience for some of our kids that need more small group support, preview and practice time than being in a larger classroom of 15 preschoolers. So they have a half day, large group, and then an afternoon small group that helps support the needs of a more moderate need preschool. So that was introduced this year, and also refining some of our schedules to make sure that we're really addressing the needs of all of our preschoolers. And we continue to have conversations and look at what we're offering year to year to make sure that it's what the preschoolers that we have in front of us now really need. So I don't know if I went over everything, but there's a lot going on at RISE.
Thank you. All right, and then the last program update is on our Learning Center. I know that we just, feels like very recently we reviewed this, but we wanted to give you a little update on some of the things that we've been working on. So the big bucket recommendations were strengthening the Tier 2 and SST process to define the purpose of our learning centers, and to refine the inclusion service delivery grid. So those were really the big buckets of the recommendations. So work that we've been doing this year is we've continued to work on professional development. As I mentioned previously, we've done a lot of work on increasing our number of students that are trained with the Wilson Reading System. We've done other training in Seeing Stars. We've sent a big group of educators to landmark outreach classes, continuing that work with Crafting Minds. We have a large group of our special education teachers that are doing a course with Dr. Orkin on progress monitoring, which has been really exciting to really bolster those skills as well with our teachers. We've been doing a lot of focus on including our elementary special education teachers in some of our general ed professional development around literacy and math, to make sure that they are able to, they understand the curriculum, the new curriculums that have been rolled out, and make sure that they're able to help support the teachers and the students within the inclusion setting. As I mentioned before, Renee has continued to work in her role as a special education literacy coach. She goes to each of the buildings, to the department meetings on a regular basis to review reading evaluation protocols, continue to review matching those instructional practices with the appropriate reading deficits. And then she also does a lot of individual case consults with teams across the district. And that's between all of our schools, not just at the elementary level. We've been working on executive functioning. Michelle Goldner, who is one of our occupational therapists, she has a very strong skill set in executive functioning. So she actually, to play off of or work off of the presentation with Sarah Ward from Cognitive Connections, she's really been spending time this fall breaking down a lot of the information that was so amazingly received from Sarah Ward's presentation into very small usable chunks for our teachers, and has been sending for the past 3 or 4 weeks, we've been sending out a weekly email to all of our staff, so district-wide, of very quick video clips that help to break down, like, here is a tip that you can be implementing in your classroom this week on this area. It's been really well received by all of our staff, general ed and special ed, to be very usable, easy to access, quick things, rather, it can be very overwhelming to sit and watch a 2-hour presentation versus let's give very usable things. So that's really exciting. Michelle has done a wonderful job with that. We've talked a lot about Jackie Pelusi. She has had a huge impact on our learning centers as well, really supporting our teachers, both general ed and special ed, with providing that in-the-moment coaching and mentoring and modeling to support our students within the least restrictive environment. She's also been working a lot on our SST process, so she's been supporting the elementary school buildings in their SST process, which has been exciting because that was a big recommendation within the report. We've been working a lot with our district leadership team on really identifying, looking at service delivery grid and how that is impacting our students, and really looking at that level of need versus how we are delivering services. So we've been focusing a lot with that with our building principals and our team chairs. I mentioned previously about our continued work with paraprofessionals and our different efforts in professional development with them. And our building leaders and team chairs have been doing a lot of evaluations and walkthroughs with focus on IEP implementation across the district. So that's been a lot of work we've been doing at the district leadership team to really look at how we are looking and giving feedback to all of our educators.
And so that was a lot, and I am extraordinarily grateful to all of you for your work. Thank you. I think it is amazing when you hear it all laid out, and this is just a portion of the work we are doing. We are taking this really seriously, and we're grateful for the committee for supporting some of our innovative positions that not all districts have, but we are making great use out of them, and we are seeing students grow, and we're hopefully building the trust of families as we do what's best for all students. And so thank you all for being here and for taking the time to lay out some of the work that you are doing. As Allison mentioned, we have a whole bunch of stuff coming up on the screen, and the CPAC is a wonderful partner with us. They've been advertising a lot of the trainings that we've offered this year to parents, and we have some that are coming up. So we are doing some focused work on ESY, because we know that has been an issue for some parents, and we're going to do a presentation, but we've spent a lot of time, as Allison mentioned, our team chairs have worked very, very hard on the transition planning process, making sure that all students who have IEPs, there's a continuous program for them. And so we're going to have those presentations coming up. And something else that they've been doing, they get really angry every time I say, I think we need a video for that. But it is building consistency across our building. We have been implementing training for the new IEP all year with our staff. As Allison mentioned, even training the paras in the accommodations and what that looks like. So in the spring, we will be having training for parents as well. We are really excited about this. The state is coming in line with some of our philosophies and beliefs around this should be student-focused and family-friendly, and we should really be thinking about the whole child. And so we are excited to really bring that to our IEP process and team meetings as well. So thank you all. We're happy to answer any specific questions, but there will be an update in writing at the end of the year.
Caveat. All right, so Chuck has his hand up first. We'll start there, and then we'll work from there.
Yeah, that was a lot. Thank you. I just had a brief question on the LIFT program that was presented. Now, my understanding, that's a successor to the POST program? And, I'm sorry, yeah. What is it, what's the difference? Is it, I think you went through, you went through it. I mean, is it just more fortified, better program?
So I think it's a similar model, that it's focused on students from 18 to 22 who need life experience, job experience, all of that. But we really felt like it was important that our students be in Reading, and that they are working in Reading businesses. This is where they're going to live, this is where their families are, instead of going to another community and becoming acclimated there. We will be taking them out on broader community trips. We've already got a few partnerships with other towns. They're joining a bowling league that they've already started going to. So instead of paying somebody else to do it, we're going to do it here, and we really feel like we can do it better. We know our kids, we know what they need. We're also looking at a variety of other supports. So we may have students who come to us for a portion of their day, but maybe go to the Macy program at Salem State and get to have some of that college experience as well. So that allows us to really use our own expertise.
So when we closed down the POST program, there was one student. How many students are in this now, or is it not?
This will be starting next year.
It hasn't started.
We'll have 3 students that are there full-time and 1 that's going to be part-time, hopefully at Macy, for part of this. So we also, part of what was happening at POST is we were sending over our BCBA, we needed to provide reading services, we needed to provide social work services. All of that we can do here without either having to send our staff off-site or send the students off-site for that. So we're really excited.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Sean, before you have to drop, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. I'll make a couple of points and then a couple of questions as well. I'll stick with Lift first. First, I'm excited that we're doing it. And, I know we made the decision to get away from POST for other reasons too. But what I'm wondering about is we didn't talk at all about that during budget season.
Right.
And you're talking about posting job openings for it. So I'm assuming there's some reinvestment happening or something to support that. But can you talk us through that a little bit about how that's working?
So we have one of the positions from the Wood End track of sale. There aren't students in there as much, so there will be a position shift up to that. And then we'll also shift 2 paraeducators from unfilled positions so that we are using our own internal staff to be able to support our students where we need. And that's really nice to have that flexibility versus really, adding positions. So we're really looking at what do our students need and where are those supports needed. And then any student who currently has a one-to-one paraeducator assigned to them at the high school level, that one-to-one position would go with them to the 18 to 22-year-old program.
Okay, that's a continuation of the existing funding for that position. So, and it also leads to one of my other observations, and, the example, Melissa, I think you gave about the vertical analysis that the teams are doing and cross-training, this sort of examination of the program from the beginning to the end, whether it's SOAR and SAIL and BARC and LIFT, and thinking about it from a staffing perspective across that curriculum, continuum, I just want to appreciate that's happening. I think that's huge, in addition to the just overall vertical alignment, right? I think for a long time, and I think we will all obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but I think many of us will agree that the challenge has been the vertical alignment, which leads to the transition stuff. And how many times do we hear transition tonight? And used not just in transition out of high school, which is one of the big reasons I wanted to highlight that as well, the transition between elementary, middle school, and high school, and the focus and the effort you all are putting there. Too many times I've heard stories in the past about that the drop that happens as they transition schools. And so I just want to raise that level of appreciation for the work that's happening there, especially as some of that is night work for some of you, and extra to a degree. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and appreciate it. Melissa, I have a question for you, and I think I understood the intent, but it kind of came off weird. So you said giving them the least that they need. Right? And so I think what you're trying to say is you don't want to over-support them, as it may hold them back from achieving independence in the long run, but you're giving them everything they need to succeed in achieving that goal right now. Right? That's what that means? Okay. Because that giving them the least, like, really kind of spun me around a little bit.
At least restrictive and something else, yeah.
And just to play on that a little bit, Allison, we said we're giving Google Read and Write to everybody in the entire district. Seems like more than what many of them need. So how are we aligning those two? It almost seems like that's too much of a support for most of our students and might be too inclusive, but Sarah's going to have an answer over here. So I'd love to hear that. I mean, especially as one who has had that used for their child, I'd love to hear why we think everybody needs Google Read and Write.
I think it's a tool that's available to our students, and we need to teach them how to use it. And so there's times when all students will benefit from using it. Just take, for example, when we have students that have written a piece, perhaps a middle school or a multi-paragraph essay, and they are proofreading it for themselves. One strategy we could teach any student to do is to use Google Read and Write to read that essay back to them, because when you read through and you also listen to your own writing being read, you often hear a mistake that you wouldn't catch by reading it. That's a really great accommodation that we should be teaching our kids. That's something that I do when I write a paper or a really important memo or something. So these are the real technology tools that are available in our world. All of our kids should have access to them and should be learning when they're appropriate to use and how it can really leverage and improve their academics.
And then for students that need that higher level, so we know that Google Read and Write has many different functions to it. So we are then directly teaching those students that need that higher level how to use some of those more advanced features that are in there. Building those vocabulary lists, doing all of those other pieces, the highlighting tool, all of those, we're doing that direct instruction so they get that information too.
And part of the success of this has been, historically, kids may say, I don't want to use that, I don't want to look different, I don't want to have something. Everybody has access to it. How you access it, and that is individualized. And so some students may not be using it, but everybody has access to it. Some students need it, and we're teaching them how to use it to the maximum benefit.
So all that sounds awesome. I mean, I love the answer. I guess my caution or my caveat would be the overuse of it, especially considering the things I've heard over the last 10 years about kids aren't going to have to learn how to spell because they can just type it and it'll spell check will fix it. Kids don't have to learn grammar because they can type it in there and the grammar is going to correct it for them already. So I think those kind of things are my worry, that we don't overdo it, that we still teach explicitly what's necessary, and that this becomes other things, a bolt-on to Sarah's point, and where the explicit need is in other places from an organizational perspective and things like that. That's, I guess, where my question and my nervousness is in the overcompensation here. Okay. I'll just thank you all for the time and effort. And this was a lot to digest. We can still work on figuring out how to trim it and give what we need to give without overgiving, but I appreciate so much the effort you all have done, and it's been great to see the progress we're making here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we will now return to our normally scheduled programming, and that would be the ARC update.
Do you want to do a break?
Does anybody need a break? Okay, we will.
I saw some things.
We will take a 5-minute recess and return for 8:41.
It's going to move around so I can warm up.
We went to the Wheelock Theater.
our core implementation plan update with all of you tonight. And if you remember, this is our third presentation this year related to literacy. We've been, in October, we sort of filled you in on what the plan was. In December, we did a deep dive into one area of literacy, our early literacy screening. And tonight is a progress update on our implementation plan. So the next few slides I'm going to go through quickly. They're just a reminder of the context we're in, and so you can look through them more carefully in the school committee presentation if they're new to you. But we are in the launch and the implement and monitor stages for our curriculum resource, our core. And the implement stage is the most important stage, I believe, of the curriculum review process. Certainly, looking for a new program is a pivotal part of the work, but implement is really where the rubber meets the road, and we determine if the program is going to meet the needs of our students, and we see it in action, and we monitor the impact of the programming. In order to do that well, we know that it requires supports for teachers to learn the new material content, the structures of the lessons, and also professional development in any pedagogical shifts in the way that they're going to teach things, or just their areas they need to increase understanding about how students learn that content area. And so when we presented our implementation plan to you, these slides will look familiar. In years 1 and 2, our focus really is what we are seeing in the classroom. And you're going to notice in our presentation tonight that that's how we're going to frame a part of the presentation. What are we seeing? I mean, we tried to use as many visuals and pictures so you could see too what we're seeing. And then in years 2, 3, and beyond, we start to really look at not just what are we seeing and how is the implementation of the materials going, but how well is it working once our teachers really have the routines underway and up and running. And then also how can it be improved. We know that there's no curriculum we're ever going to be able to purchase that is perfect. And even if it was perfect somewhere else, it's not going to be perfect in Reading. So our job is to closely monitor implementation to be able to make those small tweaks that are needed so that the program will be successful with our students. And then this year, we have 2 areas of targeted professional development with our K-2 teachers since they're in year 1. It's really that very basic level. What does this look like day in, day out? What are your literacy blocks? How are they structured? What is the type of instruction that's happening? What are students doing? What is the teacher doing? And with grades 3 through 5, this is their second time through, so we are starting to refine what it looks like in the classroom, dig a little bit deeper into those instructional routines, and make sure that we're starting to get that alignment across grades, across schools. And a big focus this year with our PD has been on the instructional, strategic instruction, which you'll see a little bit when we show you what we're seeing in the classroom. So I'm going to hand things over to Erin Burchell, our K-8 Humanities Coordinator, and Caitlin Shelburne, Principal at Joshua Eaton, and they are going to share out with you some of the things that we are seeing in our classrooms.
Good to see everybody again. I'm really excited to share a lot of what's happening and what we're seeing in classrooms when it comes to both K-2 implementation, but also 3 to 5. There's like a mix of things in here, so we're gonna talk through them. Hopefully you can see most of the pictures. I know they're really small on the piece of paper, but they really do illustrate the work, the incredibly hard work all of our teachers are doing to really dive into this, understand it, figure it out, and it's not easy work. It's really hard work. So I just want to start by thanking them for really diving in and working to figure this out. So I'm going to take you through a couple of foundational skills slides first, where we're really looking at the daily whole class instruction in both phonological awareness and phonics. This first slide is it's showing just a couple of different morning messages, which is a part, in the next slide you'll see, it's a part of the daily whole class lesson. It's supposed to be really interactive, collaborative, co-constructed with the kids, and aligned to the skill of the day. So you can see, like, there's one there that, obviously, the focus is on the long E. A lot of times, the morning message will be up or be co-constructed with the kids. They'll work on a particular phonics skill, then they'll practice it more as a whole class in really explicit ways, and then they'll go and they'll practice in their word study notebooks, either as a class or individually or in small groups. There's also, you could see too, in that middle one, you can see punctuation, sentence structure, with also a peek sort of at what the content of the day is. So those are just some of the things, and those are all grade 1 and grade 1. The next slide really shows a daily whole class lesson in phonological awareness and phonics. And that middle piece is the word study notebook that is there as a support for practice. The word study notebook can be used in a variety of ways, whole class. Kids can be working on it independently if they're able to do so. Kids can be working on it in small group, but that's really linked to the daily whole class lesson that all students are getting.
All right, hi, everyone. This is our microphone that we're using. Both. Okay, thank you. So this picture of Bethany Nazaro looks like it's staged, but that's real life window into her classroom, and the other teacher as well. ARC has really given us the opportunity to bolster and refine our approach to differentiation. Tom, you were with us, it feels like years ago, but I think it was about a month ago, walking through the different toolkit times. So all of our students engage in the ERLA assessment. So our teachers walk them through a pretty comprehensive assessment that gauges their reading strengths and areas for growth. And then from that assessment, we look at what a high leverage power goal might be. And then students receive differentiated strategic instruction using our toolkit lessons on that power goal. So what's been really nice about this is it's actually given us a tool to kind of strengthen our data meetings. As grade levels, we'll look at where all of our students fall in terms of their power goals, and then teachers will say, you know, I'm going to pull this group, we're going to kind of use all of our resources and our staffing to make sure that all students are getting what they need. So during this time, you might see all 3 classrooms just open up their doors and students are coming, based on whoever is instructing their time. So that's our toolkit block. If you look at the next slide here, this gives us a window into what the lessons look like. And when we think about planning for our lessons, what's been nice about this conference time, and it's been sort of a shift in thinking, is around our equitable conferencing schedule. So the idea of equitable conferencing is that we want to make sure that our students that need the most support are seen the most. So it's differentiated based on the level of need. What's nice about this is that the lesson plans are fairly scripted. So it gives teachers the ability to really, make sure that we're using the correct language and really targeting that specific skill. And so you'll see here an example of a power goal and the particular lesson plan. So in this particular sequence, there's 16 lessons that students receive on this power goal. And the idea is as students are making progress in that goal, they're receiving points. And so we're able to say the student has mastered that power goal based on this particular instruction. Through this and built in is strategic checks for understanding, so that teachers can say, this is evidence that our child or this child is meeting this goal. So this has been a really exciting opportunity to give us sort of a framework for our differentiation and support all of our students and our staff as well in our groupings.
The next couple of slides really deal with the knowledge building component of our core, where really each unit, you can see here, these are the thematic units for each of the grade levels going across. The units go across and the grade levels go down, so you can sort of see the content that kids are really immersed in. They're immersed in it for 7 to 9 weeks and really build knowledge while also building their skill in reading, in writing, in speaking, and listening, because all of it is directly linked to the content. So they're really building their knowledge, which we know has a major impact on learning. So a couple of things we want to look at with knowledge building, right? So we have explicit instruction and content vocab with lots of opportunities to use it in context, right? So what you see here is a grade 2, unit 2, which is the informational research unit. The grade 2 is on bugs, which is very engaging and very gross when you go and listen to their stories and see their drawings and that are all like incredibly accurate. It's crazy. But you can see here, there's a lot of content vocabulary, right? Like you have arachnid, you have millipede, you have the different ecosystems that they live in and the surroundings that they are. So they really research through different lenses within that content, and that builds year over year. So you can see in second grade, right, their content is bugs, but they're also touching on ecosystems, which then in fifth grade is the fifth grade informational research unit. So the knowledge really builds year to year, and like I said, has a major impact on learning. The second piece, you want to add something?
I was just going to chime in that one of the most exciting kind of outcomes of this curriculum is just the celebrations of this work and the projects that teachers have brought in. So different second grades made models of the different bugs that they were working on. So you would see students say, I have a thorax for someone, I have an antenna, and they kind of constructed it together and celebrated. The second grade team brought in Terminex during this bug unit, which was awesome, and the kids were really interested in learning that aspect of it too. So it's kind of, when we talk about themes, like it kind of builds more opportunities for that enrichment too.
Yeah, we had a couple of third grade bring in different local meteorologists because their unit was on weather. One fifth grade, the fifth grade at Birch actually brings in their math unit on volume and pairs it with their informational research on ecosystems, and they make their, like, whatever an animal in their ecosystem, they make it to model with the volume, like so they incorporate both the math and the science pieces of this, but also with the literature. It's just really, it's pretty cool to see. I know you all have been to a bunch of the different author celebrations and anything like that, which is like, it's like literally my favorite time of year, that I just get to go in classrooms and see it all. This next slide, we also talk about academic vocabulary and lots of opportunities to use in action. These are harder to see, you'd have to zoom in on the slideshow, but you can really see academic vocab: setting, plot, theme, antagonist, protagonist, starting in the third grade. These are some real examples of like how our teachers are modeling with students at the beginning, and then kids are doing this in their own reading and writing. I was in a third grade class. It was wild. They were talking about the antagonist in a story, and then there were kids naming antagonists in other books they were reading, like in their wide reading library, using the word antagonist, using the word protagonist, using it correctly, and then applying it to what they were doing just in a class discussion. It's wild and awesome at the same time. More knowledge building. Knowledge building is really about not only growing students' general knowledge, like through the whole class instruction, but also opportunities for them to process, for them to understand together, for them to collaborate, and oftentimes to interpret and co-create different pieces of the curriculum, right? So like on the left, this is from a grade 4 class that was working within Unit 3, which is a genre study unit. So everything in their unit has to do with historical fiction. And they co-constructed this working definition of historical fiction, what historical fiction is, and they keep going back to it and changing it the more they read and the more they learn about the genre. On the right is a co-constructed story that a kindergarten class actually wrote together after they learned in their ecology unit about the savanna. My eyes don't work when it's this small. Caitlin has a couple things underlined, but the class wrote this together. So they wrote a story, but brought in all of this knowledge about savannas. They are in kindergarten, and they're doing this work together. I get to go and hear them read it to me on Monday, which I'm psyched about. But you had something underlined.
What's awesome is that the students are fluent in reading this story. So you can call any student in the room and they'll be able to get up and read a sentence because they've practiced so much with those words. One phrase that I underlined was migrated to a different habitat. And the teacher was asking the students about what those specific words meant and how they know the word meant that based on the context clues, which is a standard that we know carries throughout the elementary school. And then later in a different text, they're seeing the word habitat and they're able to read it within that context as well. So I just don't think that when I was in kindergarten, I knew what it meant to migrate to a different habitat, but our students, they're above and beyond, so.
I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to make sure we included these two types of work is because this is a real high level of Bloom's, right? Like this is the kind of thinking in creating that we want kids to be able to do. And the knowledge building part of this really, really does bolster that and give our students a lot of abilities to do that. There's also writing happening every day, and they're frequently writing about their topics, and everything is grounded in evidence that they are gathering from their research. So this is all from one fourth grade classroom. You can see the research that one group is doing. I think it's on wolves. That's my guess. It looks like a wolf howling. But they are actually doing the research together in a group. You can't see it very clearly, but posted is the research question for the week. So that's what the kids are working on there. And then in the next slide, you can see, this was actually, I was just doing a kindergarten observation and saw this, and it was mind blown a little bit. So the picture going across the top is actually a progression of writing that the kindergarten teacher had created as a model for her kids. It's up above the smartboard so the kids can reference it when they are sitting at the table writing. And then there's some examples of kindergarten writing that was happening during that day. So as I was looking up at this writing progression, that's a model for kids to look at to see how to get better. If you got a 2, here are the things you need to do to get a 3 in kindergarten. As I'm looking at it, the kids are actually doing it, and I was like, what is this? This is, oh my gosh. So that was a really cool piece of writing to see too. The next slide are a whole bunch of research projects. If I could have had 40 slides of this, I would have, and you could have seen all of them. So there's some first grade, there's some fifth grade on ecosystems, there's a second grade. You can see the top right is a poster actually, so they actually made their book into a poster, and it was awesome. I mean, Caitlin mentioned the different celebrations of learning. I got invited to so many this year in all different grade levels. And it was great to see the knowledge that kids had gained and how they solidified it in their writing. But then you also see the skills of author's choices for why you're putting a picture in here and why the caption says what it is. And the kids are actually able to, if you ask them questions, talk about the choices that they've made. So you can really see the literature skills in there. This last slide is actually one of the, we're going to talk a little bit about the diving a little bit deeper with 3 to 5 this year, because they know they went through the what and the why last year, and now they're really in the how and the why and how to keep it going. But this is an example of on the left is a pre-assessment for Unit 2. In the little sticky note at the bottom are actually identified goals that the teacher and the student have conferenced about and decided on. So a couple of them are working on an introduction, making sure they have transition words, and putting some evidence, adding evidence in there. It's said a lot more eloquently on there. And on the right is the post-assessment for Unit 2, where the student actually met all those goals set. Both of those are done completely independently. So it really is able to show the growth from the pre-assessment to the post-assessment. This is the type of work that we're really getting to do this year in 3 to 5, and it's really powerful. So really focusing on what kids are coming in with in terms of writing, what they need to be working on, and then seeing if they can do it by the end of it.
Thank you. So that's what we're seeing in the classroom, and really in years 1 and 2, our work is to continue to monitor that. We as a team, working with our building leaders, we start to consolidate what we're seeing, and as a leadership team determine what are we learning about how it's going. So there are some areas that we want to continue collaborating with our staff. There are things that we think are really essential components of the program, and we want to make sure they're being delivered consistently across classrooms and really ensure that our teachers have the professional knowledge that they need in order to implement them. So this spring, we're looking at a training focus with our K-2 teachers on the scope and sequence of the foundational skills and making sure they really understand how those build. We're also looking at, we need to continue to support our teachers in the data collection routines. That's been one of the hardest shifts for our staff. We really are asking them to conduct themselves differently during that literacy block, and ideally to have their laptop out when they're working at the toolkit lessons and to be entering student data as they go, and that's really a big shift in practice for them. But we believe that that data collection is really what drives this program, and working with staff to really calibrate on that is a continued area that we've identified. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the strategic instruction is also a key component of this program. We know that having both the whole class instruction, where all students have access to grade level standards, paired with customized, differentiated instruction for students to meet them right where they're at, is really how we're going to see success. And so having the strategic instruction in place and done well is the essential component that we've identified as still needing to calibrate on. When we think about next year, because we are already starting to think about how we're going to adjust our implementation plan, next year will be in year 2 for K-2 and year 3 for 3, 4, and 5. We are planning out how to deliver explicit instruction for our K-2 teachers that would strengthen their background knowledge in the delivery of foundational skills. And for this, we are looking at continuing our partnership with Hill for Literacy. We believe that having that curriculum agnostic PD is really important because we want our teachers to have that background knowledge on their own, and then they can bring that to the curriculum. Additionally, as we go, we find that there are little things within the program that we want to customize and make it more Reading specific. That might mean adding something in, it might mean changing something. So some examples are, we are underway with adjusting some of the writing rubrics. We want to make sure that they fully match the expectations for our students on MCAS and that they just align with what we're looking for. This spring, one of the things we're going to be working on is the creation of a grammar scope and sequence for our district. While our core has grammar embedded, they don't have an outlined scope and sequence. We think that's important. We think it's clear. It needs to be clear to staff what's being taught when. Some small examples of small changes that we are making. We're continually having conversations with our teachers and our leaders. And for example, in 5th grade, there was a core text we just didn't feel really met the mark on what we were trying to teach. And so we're working with the whole 5th grade team across schools to identify a core text that we think is going to work better. Similarly, 5th grade had identified one of the post-assessment passages they felt didn't give students the opportunity to show what they had learned, so we're going to tweak out that. When we make those changes, we ensure that they're done district-wide, because remember, we want to establish a coherent and consistent curriculum across the district, so we're not going to just have staff in individual schools making changes to components of the program. One of the things we're looking to implement next year is that we want to add some additional vocabulary routines to the program. We think that the vocabulary is really a strength of this program through the knowledge building, but we just find that we think some of the routines could be bolstered based on what some of our, what Erin and some of our teachers are learning through the Science of Reading course with Hill for Literacy. And then an ongoing adjustment we're making, our core doesn't actually provide exemplars. They want districts to develop their own. And so that's one of the additions that we're doing now, is we are creating systems to gather exemplars, and then those exemplars would be available to all staff. And then the final area are things that we're just going to continue to monitor. We are, not even through a full year with K-2, so we still need to see one full use of all of the materials. So the K-2 foundational materials and the approach, we continue to talk with our K-2 teachers and our literacy specialists. We are, as I mentioned just a second ago, we're leveraging what we're learning in the Hill for Literacy course, and we are continuing to have observations and walkthroughs with our leadership team to see those foundational skill lessons in action, see what they actually look like in the classroom, and to learn as much as we can about them. This also includes continuing to monitor that scope and sequence, and so we do that by leveraging some of the data we're collecting, ERLA and screening data, so looking at those together, seeing if they are really allowing students to progress towards the benchmarks in the time that we assume that they would. And then we also continue to monitor the knowledge building content and determine how is it aligning with our science and social studies curriculum. As Erin said, we really want that idea of building content knowledge over time. It's nice sometimes when the ARC core content aligns, like in 5th grade, their Unit 4 is in ARC core is about the Civil War, and they're also studying it in social studies. That's great. Doesn't have to be that way, because it's also nice for kids to learn something one year and then learn more about it the next year. But we're just trying to see how those things all interplay and make sure that we have the proper supports in place. In particular, one area is just looking at, like, do we have enough text for research? Even though ARC core has provided us with so many texts, we've heard from a few teachers on that knowledge building component that there were just like a few content areas that they were looking for some more materials in. So those are areas we'll continue to monitor. I assume those are the things that we'll continue to update you on over the next couple of years. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Who wants to start?
I just want to make a comment, just, how thrilled I am every time we present on this topic. But I think that last bullet point, Sarah, is something that I'm super excited about too, as our teachers get more fully embedded in our curriculum, of just how do we carry those tools across the curriculum, of how we're doing thematic-based units, how are we connecting what we're learning here, connecting it to what we're learning across, how do I learn in the novel that I'm reading in literature and the themes, and how did I carry that across into my world history class, et cetera, and helping, when you start doing that at younger grades, it just becomes an automatic thing for the kids as they get older. So super excited about that.
Good point.
Anybody else? Carla?
So I'm looking up these areas we continue to monitor. Is there can you think of, like, if there was one thing that you wish this program did better, and what are you doing to compensate for it, so to speak?
That's a good question. I mean, I think some of the areas we talked about there in the customizing are examples. Like one of the things we've recently been talking about, like that vocabulary routine, the grammar scope and sequence, little things like that. So I think there's just like these little things as we go that maybe we have a different approach than ARC core, or maybe our teachers just have different needs. So I don't think it's any one big thing. It tends to be little things. Sure. And then also just customizing for our context.
So overall, I mean, it sounds like everybody's really happy with it. Yeah. Is that still the sentiment?
I agree. I would say so. I do. I mean, I think for our staff, that it's been a big change. Sure. And they are committed and working very hard in implementing it, but every time those K-2 teachers open up another unit, it's daunting. There's just a lot of learning that has to happen. And so I think that as we dig into it and start to see the success with students, that's where we see the excitement in staff. I think at points staff do feel overwhelmed with all of the things they have to learn and all of the shifts we're asking. But overall, to me, this is just so much, it just has all of the components we're looking for, and really the ability to push our students, like some of the examples that Erin and Caitlin were sharing, just the level of complexity that our students are engaging in thinking, writing, reading. ARC has really delivered on those pieces that we were expecting.
Can I ask one more question, Tom?
Can I just add to that answer just a little bit? The special education staff are also very grateful to be included in the professional development. So when they are working with students, they know what's happening, they have the background knowledge, and it's been really good. And as you all are giving examples today, I was at an elementary school with a student who is in one of our sub-separate classrooms with pretty significant academic needs and behavioral needs. And he was actually in a general ed class and said, look at me, I'm doing a verb. And I was like, you're doing a verb? And he was eating snack. So that carryover of high-level vocabulary and engagement is really, that's where the staff are so excited. Like, everybody was talking about.
Doing a verb.
He was doing a verb. And those are things that he probably never would have been exposed to prior to this. So there is some really there's some real excitement from the staff around those pieces.
To add to what Jen just said too, during one of the author celebrations at one of the schools, there were a couple of students from sub-separate programs that actually had projects that were direct, like they were ARC projects, but they had been modified and scaffolded so that the student was actually able to still work within the content and learn. I think it was about bugs. I keep talking about bugs tonight, but like the kid had done his own project on bugs, had done his own research, and it was awesome. I mean, it was within like the knowledge building piece, like that's what that speaks to too. It really gives a lot of kids access that may or may not have had it before in the general ed setting, and it's so powerful to see.
Just one more question.
yeah.
So in terms of the implementations, have you seen like a significant, I know that last year with 3 to 5, you didn't have as much time. Are you seeing any really significant difference in the higher level education for 3 to 5 versus this K through 2?
Yeah, I think you can definitely see it through like a lot of the final projects and the work kids are doing in class. I also, in talking to my implementation team and teachers across the district, 3 to 5 teachers are a lot less overwhelmed this year because there's not like a new what. It's more the how. Like, how are we doing this? Why are we making the decisions we're making? Okay, I did this way last year, but I think this will work better this way for my kids this year. So I think because it's a little less overwhelming in year 2, they're able to dig into some of those things we really wanted them to be able to dig into. I think, you know, some of the customization moves we've made, just that we made year 1 to year 2, and even did in year 1 for K to 2, was making sure we had common pre, mid, and post assessments for the units that ARC doesn't, in all grades, ARC doesn't supply, like, give those. So, you know, we'd have passages that were the same and consistent across the district, so we can actually have teachers talking about the same thing and looking at the same work to analyze it and think about it a little bit more deeply than we were able to, like, when we were like, what is, like, we don't even know what all it is. So that's been really cool to be able to see. Thank you. Yeah.
I love that you have customized aspects of it that make more sense for our students. I'm just curious on the process. So you mentioned, like, we're making a change to the 4th grade curriculum. It's going to happen across all the schools. So what's the process from noticing something that maybe isn't ideal to this is now a change for all 5 schools?
Yeah. I think it's making sure we're really consistently gathering feedback from folks and folks from across the district. So I have an implementation team. We are really working this year on communication and feedback loops. So there are folks at every single school that on a monthly basis get feedback from their peers and then bring it back to the implementation team. We look at it, we look at the patterns and trends across the district, and then that's how a lot of these decisions are made. So it's not a, like, you know, one person, I don't like this book or like anything like that. We're really looking at patterns and trends across the district. Those communication and feedback loops have been incredibly essential in making some of these decisions about changing a core text or like needing a new, you know, post-assessment passage because the one we picked last year didn't work. in the different things we need to add in, the grammar, scope, and sequence, like that is definitely one that's come out of there as well. So just really making sure, like, when we're making changes, we're really thinking about the why behind why are we making these changes, and why do we think we need to make them? And are we consistently seeing it in different spaces?
Thank you.
Yeah.
My turn. First, I'm going to start with, I love seeing that we're demonstrating the entire reading rope in the process, right? I still hear, and we still read about people saying that the science of reading is phonics and phonics only. And we're demonstrating that is false. 10 times and whatnot. So, we're seeing, vocabulary, knowledge building, context, comprehension, writing, grammar, spelling. I mean, we didn't talk about spelling, so hopefully that's going on too, but, because that's a pain point of mine, but, and that's the writing side versus the reading rope, but we're seeing the whole thing in action. And I just, want to thank you for that and thank the ARC teams and the teachers for working that through. I also love seeing that we're taking, I think somewhat to what Aaron was saying, taking what we're seeing in Hill and bringing that back. One of the things we challenged ourselves on with ARC from the beginning is it may not be completely scientifically aligned, so what can we do to augment that? And hearing about the grammar augmentation and the vocabulary, process and layout and whatnot is huge, and I love seeing that kind of augmentation. So those are small tweaks, and I'm sure that you all are already telling ARC that you're making those small tweaks so they can start to think about those small tweaks themselves. Knowing Aaron, you're probably like, yeah, let's make these changes too. But I think that's awesome that we're doing some of those things. So I have a couple of questions that are maybe a little bit more focused. And that is, one of the other things we hear about curriculums like ARC is that it's so scripted that the art of teaching disappears. I've seen the action, so I know the answer, but I'm asking a loaded question on purpose. Are we seeing that love of teaching, the art of teaching is disappearing because of the curriculum, or are we seeing it's coming out in different ways and they're able to demonstrate it in different ways?
Caitlin, do you want to take that one?
Sure, yeah, I would love to. I think the curriculum is scripted when it comes to the toolkits, but other than that, it's a framework. So our teachers have the ability to do things like bring in Terminix or make a project that they're interested in, and or, while we're grounded in our core text, maybe pull in something supplemental that they think might, kind of triangulate what they're talking about, whether it's an adventure video for the 5th grade unit or clip or something of that nature. So I think there's still a lot of autonomy for teachers within a very kind of clear framework, which I think actually builds a lot of collaboration and excitement for the teaching. So, they're still doing their thing, our teachers, as far as their planning component, which it gives teachers a good window for where can I supplement, where can I bring in my own voice. And our coaches have modeled that for us as well. So with Melissa, she came in and she shared, this is a great opportunity to do a fractured fairy tale of Joshua Eaton, and what would it look like if Cinderella took place at Joshua Eaton, who would be, and kind of making those adjustments based on our students and what they're interested as well.
Great, and that was the answer somewhat expected. The other thing I was asking, and this is a little bit more pointed as well, as we talk about the foundational skills, and Sarah, you and Aaron and I have talked about this a little bit as well, is the shift from synthetic to analytic phonics, as that was one of the biggest changes that's happening in this from a foundational perspective. Can you provide any feedback about how that's going? Is that one of those we got to wait till the end of the year and we really see the full completion of progress of the scope and sequence for the year and how that's going?
I think yes. I think we do have to wait till the end of the year to see the full scope and sequence. I also think it's hard sort of to gauge the difficulty of the shift when it's also brand new materials, brand new frameworks, brand new books, brand new, I think that's a really tough thing to sort of parse out in terms of how overwhelmed people feel, because it's a big shift from what we were doing. So I would say that is probably the number one thing we are monitoring and continuing to monitor as we go along. I know Sarah mentioned it, but I think triangulating with the DIVLS data too is really important as we're going along. So I know starting next week, like is the kindergarten middle of the year benchmark. So like we're really interested to dig into that data and see sort of like, okay, are we doing it? Is it doing it? Like, is it working? So I think there's that piece of it too. But yeah, we're definitely continuing to monitor it. It's not a done deal. We haven't decided anything yet about like, is it working? Is it too much? Is the shift too big? We're definitely still in there.
Any feedback we've heard yet, or are we augmenting with
Not
whether
augmenting
UFly or anything else like that? Is
No, not yet.
not even for tier 2 or anything?
In tier 2, we're using UFly.
Okay.
In tier 2, like they're solidly using UFly as one of their intervention resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess I'll just make this like a last editorial comment of thanks. I mentioned this last night at the Finance Committee meeting as well. People are asking how we're able to do what we're doing. Not just it was in the context of special education and bringing more of our kids or keeping more of our kids in district, but it goes beyond that. And I say this in scope of some other conversations I have where people ask me to talk to other school committees, Lexington, Winchester, and a few others down closer to Boston. The willingness and openness of you all to lead in this space, in a space that in this area is not necessarily friendly in leading in this direction. I just want to thank you for that and that willingness to dig in and dive in. The self-education, the continuous learning that's going on with Hill for Literacy as well, from the leadership level all the way down through the teachers. I just want to continue to applaud you for that and the effort that goes into that. It's not unnoticed. We will benefit and our kids will benefit in the long run. And I just want to continue to thank you for that effort. Okay. Sean, we missed you. Do you have anything you wanted to add or ask?
No, I'm good. I'll say all three of my kids are at the elementary level, as folks know. So they're all experiencing ARC now. I think the piece, it's the last bullet here. Sarah, you made a comment on this, but I totally agree. What's interesting to me and seeing it through the lens of my kids is they don't even perceive that they're getting reading instruction or literacy instruction, right? They're just like subject matter that they're excited about, that they're happy to talk about, that they're, coming home telling me about bugs or telling me about wolves or telling me about monkeys or, whatever it might be. And I think the program has been really, I think the curriculum has been a really big success from that perspective, that it just feels like a, content-based, sort of a content-based approach that doesn't feel like rote instruction to kids, which I think goes a long way in sort of developing that love of reading that we're obviously trying to develop with our kids.
Closing the knowledge gap. Which is a big part of closing the other gap we talk about. I want to say as well, and Caitlin knows this, but I've seen in practice what Dr. Stice was talking about, and Aaron was talking about second grade. This particular case was at Josh Wheaton. And I'll just say, not only was the content obvious, but the joy was infectious, right? That young man was like ecstatic to read me his paper. I could tell what he had physically written versus what the para in support had physically written for him, but he knew it, right? There was no doubt that he knew it. And he was reading it, I followed him along as he was reading it. He was reading the material, and that was amazing to see. So, that kind of stuff, plus the small group instruction that's going on over there, I'd love to see it, so. I'll make my way back once my job schedule gets less crazy.
Please do, yeah.
I have volunteer days, so I'm going to keep pulling. Actually, I'll be there Monday
Okay.
for Read Across America. So,
Awesome. Me too.
yeah.
Awesome.
And Killen. So, all right. Okay, so I think we're done with that. Seeing no further comments, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And we will move on to the FY25 kindergarten enrollment update. Dr. Wojcicki?
Yep, I'm just going to say 3 sentences, then we can go, it was late and tired, people are tired, and then we can go as far deep into it as you want to. So the headlines, 1, we're 220 students, and there's a gap between the 268 we projected. 2, we're doing everything we can. We've outlined some of the steps in the packet of what we're doing to try to track down all of the students who we know are out in the community and eligible for kindergarten who have not yet registered. 3, we commit to coming back on April 4th with a better, hopefully a higher number of students that we've tracked down at that point, and a plan for any potential consolidations of classes based off of just what we're seeing with enrollment trends too.
Thank you.
Have at
Any
it.
questions from anybody on the committee?
Have at it.
Good job.
We're on it.
Bring those kids in.
Yep, we're on it.
Okay, we will switch to our last topic, and realizing that we don't have anything in the packet for this, I don't even know if anybody had a chance to see the new bylaws or the new charter, but I do have, and there's really no substantive change for us.
No.
So I'm going to share that really quickly. There we go. And Chuck, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, my friend. Can you just give a quick high-level view, and actually, we have the chair of the committee here as well, high-level view of the changes. I see a lot of basic updates, with regards to Board of Selectmen versus Select Board, et cetera. So Chuck, can you start with that?
Yeah, definitely with regard to the section that pertains to the school, that's all it is. It was just the updating selectmen to select board and different grammatical things, but nothing changed with regard to the actual charter, substance of the charter with respect to the schools. That's basically it, right?
Chris Haley, Tennyson Road. Yes, Chuck, that is accurate. It's mainly not just with the school committee, with a majority of everything else. It's just the naming vernacular, couple of things here and there, but for the most part, as it pertains to the schools, it's just all the changes from selectmen to select board. So.
His or hers to their.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is it gender neutral throughout?
Throughout as well. So I went through and highlighted the sections where school committee is there, and just looking at like down here, his to there, all right, no big deal, nothing else changed. The MGL rules of our responsibilities didn't change. We don't need to worry about that. Wherever we're put in there, in terms of like, okay, Recreation Committee, we have 1 member, nothing changed in that regard. The Charter Review Committee process, nothing for us changed there either. The town manager responsibilities, nothing for us changed there. With regards to, hiring people, he still doesn't have a responsibility to hire anybody in the schools, right?
Right.
And with regards to facilities, he still doesn't have responsibility of the facilities because we do. Same with procurement, nothing changed there. Going further down. So I think in essence, there's really no real change for us to be concerned about. You can see in this case, it went from enable him to enable the town manager. So they didn't even choose them in this case, it's just the town manager, which is probably even better. And his presentation to the presentation for the budget. So there's really nothing of substance for us to worry about, from my opinion, in this regard. Okay. Okay, so that's the end of the agenda. So one quick note for the public, and the committee already knows this because it's just an update in scheduling, but our next meeting is March 14th, and that will hold according to schedule. After that, because there's some conflicts in what happens around the schools actually on the 28th, and because of a few other things, and because town meeting is happening in middle of, we have vacation in April, then town meeting at the end of April, and because we wanted to learn from our lesson of trying to push the Boston Metco trip in at the end of the year when we have a lot of other things happening, we're making some adjustments. So the meeting on the 28th of March and the meeting on the 11th of April are being condensed down to a meeting on the 4th of April, which will be in Boston at Metco headquarters. So we will have March 14th as normal here, and then April 4th in Boston at Metco headquarters, and then we won't meet again until after town meeting. Okay? So with that said, any other business that is able to be talked about that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. All right, so I'll take a motion to adjourn. So moved by Sean, seconded?
Second.
Seconded by Chuck. Okay, roll call. Sean?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Tom? Yes, and we are adjourned at 9:32.